just when you think the entire Andretti situation couldn't get worse for Formula One, it just got worse for Formula One. And I mean way worse. In fact, you could say it just got personal. Of course, I can easily discuss the situation where the United States Senate has gotten involved now and are pushing for the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commissions to step in and intervene, but that's a little bit dry for the beginning of the video. Because according to Mario Andretti, a potential olive branch trying to find a resolution in getting Andretti into Formula One was utterly crushed by the boss of Liberty Media, apparently leaving a bullet through my heart, as said by the 1978 world champion. And if this is true, that damning comment could easily see the company and the sport in trouble with the courts. Again, if true. And I don't really see any reason why Mario Andretti would lie at this point, because he's got the public right behind him. He's got governors right behind him. He's got the entire US Congress behind him. If it's found out that he over-exaggerated or made things up, then the entire situation would utterly collapse and Andretti will be getting nowhere. Certainly no support from the government. There is every single reason to believe that this actually happened. I mean, I've got to be fair because innocent until proven guilty and all that. But let's be real. It would be incredibly foolish for him to lie about this at this point. It's gotten too big, as said by these comments here. Regarding his visit to Capitol Hill, I was asked to go there, and just as I was trying to explain that to Stefano, Mr. Maffei broke in the conversation and he said, "Mario, I want to tell you that I will do everything in my power to see that Michael Andretti never enters Formula One." After which Andretti claims he walked away and hasn't been in touch since. I could not believe that. That one really floored me. We're talking about business. I didn't know it was something so personal. That was really... oh my goodness. I could not believe it. It was just like a bullet through my heart. Whoa. Whoa. If that's accurate, and let's just be fair here, it's yet to be corroborated by people that were involved and were present, including Stefano Domenicali himself, but of course why would he talk, given who's involved, then this would be very, very damning. The smoking gun even, in regards to as why Andretti had been denied entry into the sport. It had nothing to do with a lack of competitiveness, or Andretti mooching off the sport instead of F1 benefiting from Andretti's presence, no. It was apparently something personal, to do with Michael Andretti himself. And I bet that Greg Maffei's on a short fuse right now, because livenation, one of the subsidiary companies of Liberty Media, they're in hot water themselves regarding ticket sales, and there's more about that, and it's really interesting. I'll tell you more about that later. But why would Michael Andretti be at the centre of such a vitriolic comment that could deny 3 generations of Andretti entry into the sport as a Formula One team? Well, it could be down to the fact that when Michael Andretti was in Formula One as a driver himself, his time in the sport wasn't all that great. In fact, you could easily say it was quite embarrassing. It didn't help that his teammate at McLaren was, of course, Ayrton Senna. There was no contest, and various comparisons were made that were not all that glowing, as well as his bizarre decision to not base himself in Europe or in the UK, or better yet in Guildford, just a stone's throw away from Woking. No, he would commute in from the US every single time. So that means getting to know the engineers and getting to know the car and being prepared for races, being up in the air without Wi-Fi or any sort of data reception where you could actually get some documents, that's really going to eat up some time and also really limit your impact on the team and making friends. In fact, you'd probably be making a lot of enemies or people not really caring. In fact, there are so many things tied to Michael Andretti's time in Formula One, it gets really crazy. And oh yes, what he and his son Marco Andretti keep saying, that McLaren was sabotaging the car to make himself look bad against Ayrton Senna. I'm not really too sure about that one, Michael, because this is Ayrton Senna, and yes, the McLaren of that year wasn't all that great. The MP48 was not one of Ayrton's best cars, but he still made it dance, especially at Donington. You really need to go back and look at that race. It's one of the best drives in any driver's career. Sort of akin to Michael Schumacher's Spanish Grand Prix of '96. And then, of course, there was just general friction throughout the team, and many people within the circles of McLaren not really understanding why Mika Hakkinen, who they got from Lotus, was not being put into the car next to Senna, because they knew he was quick and he was destined for greatness and a really long career, and also becoming the second most decorated driver in McLaren's history. And then there are people saying that no, Michael just gave up too soon. He should have stayed the course with this contract, stayed out the year because he got a podium in Monza. He was onto something and then he just quit by apparently mutual consent that things weren't working out, so he probably got a payoff and then he just went back to America. So in short, let's just say that the son of the 1978 F1 world champion really didn't live up to the legacy of his father. Not at all. So you could say that perhaps maybe there are people within Formula One management that remember or are aware of what Michael Andretti got up to during his time in the sport as a driver, and fear that similar antics might happen again. He might not take things too seriously, or do something really strange that brings the sport into disrepute. I mean, quite frankly, I don't think that Michael Andretti brought the sport into disrepute. Andrea Moda the year before. Now that brought the sport into disrepute. Andretti, no, he was just bizarre and surreal. And, okay, it also really didn't help the course of American drivers in Formula One after their glory days back in the early 70s and 80s. So maybe they just fear a non-committal Formula One team would rock up and then it would completely denigrate the sport. So maybe that was why he aimed those comments specifically at Michael, but not Mario, because of course he's a former world champion. He's got some kudos. His son, no. But speaking as a newly minted father, showing venom to one's own offspring is worse than showing venom to oneself. Don't poke the bear. And that probably spurred on the escalation all the way up to the highest branch of government, save for the president himself. But Michael Andretti, he's a far different person from back then. The biggest difference that I see is that, first off, he has done his homework this time. You could easily say that the Andretti of the early 90s really didn't pay much thought as to what made F1 what it is, and it was completely different to what American motorsport was all about. This time around, though, he knows what he is doing. He realizes that he can't just waltz in with his own team and expect to know everything from the get-go. He's been doing his homework, where to set up camp and who to ask. Those are really important things. You get General Motors to partner with you, which is probably an even bigger coup than Red Bull bringing in Ford to do the powertrain operation, where they're effectively just doing the battery. General Motors, though? No, they're probably going to be doing everything. So that's, one up for GM. Then they acquire the old McLaren wind tunnel that they borrowed from Toyota that is based in Cologne, which made a fair few McLaren cars. And even though it's not the best out there, it's certainly a solid and reliable machine. And now they've just opened a brand new Silverstone satellite, having been based in a porter cabin, just to make sure that they are in the heart of Formula One itself, where the majority of F1 teams are based, and most of the big wigs and talents are located there or nearby, meaning commuting time will be barely changed at all. So if you want to hire people, that's a really smart move, and they've been making really, really smart moves. Every single thing that I've seen, yes, they've done everything that the FIA has justifiably given them the green light for. Why are you stopping them? It's just getting really, really suspicious. So that comment from Maffei really does make a lot of sense, but again, it needs to be clarified and verified. And these members of personnel that they're getting, these are big leaguers. They include Otmar Safnauer as a potential team principal, should they get the green light. He said that he would be delighted to do so, should that happen. And now the most recent hiring as a technical chief, Pat Simmons. Now, if you're not too familiar with that name, he's basically been around Formula One for decades. And unfortunately, he was around at the time that Renault got caught with their Crashgate situation. He got banned for 5 years in working in the sport, but now he's back. He's done his redemption. He worked for Formula One itself in the technical department. So that is a really, really big hire. And oh yes, Pat Simmons has also been very vocal about having more teams in Formula One, so match made in heaven. And if you think this is a shallow hire, then think again. Simmons knows everything there is to know about how F1 operates, as well as decades of experience with some of the most experienced teams in the business. He carries a lot of kudos within the entire Formula One community, so getting him on board is a really good sign and encouraging gesture that what they have to hand is really, really notable. And I doubt that Simmons would have gotten involved in this if it was some kind of podunk operation that wasn't really going to amount to anything and would easily fizzle out if Formula One just kept on stamping its feet and went like, no, 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 no. But no, Andretti are just going, yes, 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 yes. They are not going to, as that really, really long-winded statement from F1 in January said, get more out of F1 than F1 would get out of Andretti. No. Simmons there, you can easily get to know what are the inner machinations of Formula One. That is some really big intel. Of course, he's got to do some gardening leave first, but in a way that doesn't really matter because right up there at the top, it moves a lot slower than it does amongst the teams. You could easily say that Simmons' hiring might be related to what Stefano and Mario were trying to thrash out at Miami at the Palm Club. That maybe they were trying to broker some kind of deal that could see Andretti in there eventually, a little bit sooner than 2028. But then, of course, Greg Maffei comes in and sours the entire experience and just leaves Mario completely blindsided. I think those two were about to get somewhere, but now, oh no. I think the boss of Liberty Media has just added fuel to the fire. And yeah, they've been really quiet about this, but no, only now has somebody within Liberty Media said anything. Granted, it's an anonymous insider, but hey, it's better than what we've had over the last few weeks. I mean, anything since January. NBC mentions that what Mario said wasn't true, and that Mario instead approached Mr. Maffei instead of Mr. Maffei confronting him, and that the reasons for their rejection, as discussed, were down to good business. Well, try telling that to the Department of Justice, Mr. Maffei, and whether or not it was good business. Because it's becoming quite clear that you've either ignored the US government or what you said to the US government is simply not good business. Getting back to that letter from the Senate, and once again, this is a bipartisan effort from two diametrically opposed leaders of it, in Senator Amy Klobuchar and Senator Mike Lee. And speaking of Amy Klobuchar, do you want to know something funny? Oh, when I found this out. Oh, this is juicy! She's already going after a Liberty Media-owned company, as the Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit against LiveNation and Ticketmaster in regards to, guess what? Antitrust matters. More specifically as to why ticket prices for concerts and sporting events have gotten ridiculously expensive since these two companies merged back in the 2010s. That is becoming prohibitive for any concert goers, including, as the senator said, Swifties. Enough was enough, roared Klobuchar, and this would be a victory for the consumer for those who wish to attend live events, be it concerts or sports. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can't really get into detail here because otherwise I would be here for an even longer video. It'd be absolutely crazy. But needless to say, Liberty Media have already given us previous that they have gotten to a place where the Department of Justice is now filing a lawsuit. This could easily happen again, especially if they get found guilty. And this could really blow up. Finding out that Klobuchar is involved and bipartisanship has gone all the way up to the Senate, where they really don't agree about anything. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you really need to pay attention to this, because what I think LiveNation did is probably what Liberty Media is doing, albeit in a slightly different context. But Liberty Media has sort of brushed this off, saying, oh, this is just fan frustration with the live entertainment industry. So basically they're saying that fans are just whining about it. Smooth. In both cases, what I think is trying to happen is trying to get a fair deal for any American consumer, employer, or company trying to get a good opportunity to make the most out of F1's growing popularity in the country, which is seemingly becoming more and more prohibitive and much more like a closed league, and that is something that I think America has had enough of. And given what Maffei said, I think he probably doesn't care anymore. He's already in trouble with the DOJ and probably soon the Federal Trade Commission, so yeah, okay, why don't you just go all out? Use every single dollar that Liberty Media has, because they are the biggest sports conglomerate in the entire world. They have nearly $20 billion worth of wealth. They could probably lose a few $100 million here or there just to keep Michael Andretti out, apparently, allegedly. Supposedly, it's not. No, I'm just speculating. This has probably gone way too far, and this could easily break apart the sport. The FIA and FOM, they've been trying to broker a peace deal. Stefano and Mohammed bin Sulayem, they've been trying to negotiate a peace treaty. But now Maffei comes in, of the owners in Formula One, and just completely running roughshod over it for, according to Mario Andretti, personal reasons. But I also think there could be multiple reasons as to why the commercial side of Formula One rejected this bid, and it probably came from pressure regarding the other teams, because, you know, they're making a lot of money already. Why would they want to share any more money with teams that didn't survive the Rona period? They did the time, so why should they have to share? The more I hear about this, the more it's just sounding increasingly dodgy. Okay, this Sherman Antitrust Act everyone goes on about, could F1 really be in violation of it? Well, possibly on 2 counts. There are 8 sections of the basic summary of the Act from 1890, and the first 2 sections are potential red flags, or at least black and white flags. Section 1 addresses contracts or conspiracies that restrain trade or commerce. The Senate letter suggests that Formula One management may be engaging in concerted actions with key stakeholders, including other F1 teams and foreign automakers, to exclude Andretti and General Motors. So yeah, if they're found guilty of this, then that could be a violation right off the get-go, right on the first section. And wait, there's more. Section 2 deals with monopolization, attempts to monopolize, or conspiracies to monopolize in any part of trade or commerce. All 3 letters sent to Congress address the issue that Andretti Cadillac were denied entry simply for the fact that it is down to current teams rejecting a bid from an American company just for the sake of their own interests. And that potential rivals of Cadillac and General Motors might want to have a thing or two to say in regards to their entry. Perhaps the likes of Ford, Audi, Mercedes, they might not like the idea of General Motors getting a leg up, especially since Cadillac is planning to re-enter the European market. All of this could perhaps indicate that there might be an agreement or understanding between F1, Liberty Media and existing teams or investors to prevent new entrants from coming in, which basically means that they don't want to change anything because they're making a lot of money right now and any change could easily jeopardize all of that. Oh my God, it just comes down to money. It's always down to money. And Christian, your "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" comments? Really not helping. If this becomes a formal lawsuit, this isn't just going to be a simple slap on the wrist, naughty, naughty boy, Liberty Media, now say you're sorry. I mean, okay, maybe one of those things could be the case, but no. Most likely, it could be down to Liberty Media losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Or worse, there could be jail time involved for certain people that were at the center of the entire mission, supposedly, of Andretti Cadillac being denied entry. But I don't realistically think that would happen. I can't imagine Toto in jail. Other penalties could include Formula One having to pay Andretti substantial damages. What kind of damages? Well, it could be anything. Many, many multiples of what they paid in terms of legal costs trying to fight the case. Or maybe they could easily just say whatever they want. All of the investment that they put into the Formula One operation, they could easily say, "Yeah, Liberty Media, pay that for me, please." So, yeah, effectively, that dilution fee they'd have to pay would be effectively free. All of this free development. Oh, this could be expensive if Andretti's legal team make it so. At the very least, there could be supposed injunctive relief, where Formula One is effectively told, stop it, that you should just let Andretti in, because you're in big trouble, mister, and you better play ball. If not, there might be other penalties further down the line, including further governmental oversight, because remember, Liberty Media is an American company, so it could easily fall under the jurisdiction of American supervisors on the legal side. This isn't just a European thing, it's an American thing, which just makes it really, really weird. Surely they'd want American teams in, because they're an American operation. This just makes me think that Maffei's comments are actually true. But again, they are allegedly true. There's been no corroboration. We really need Stefano to come out and say, but again, he probably won't say anything. And then let's not forget the reputational damage. If it comes out that Liberty Media were guilty of denying entry to Andretti, Formula One's reputation in the States could be irreparably damaged. More so than the 2005 Indy Grand Prix, and that was bad. So if you're just looking at this from the sidelines, you might be thinking, oh, this is nothing. Why should I even care? Well, this is getting really, really serious, because Formula One is looking to push into America. They got 3 Grand Prix in the States, more so than any other country. They are in a desperate pursuit for more American money, yet they're not willing to share it with an American team. And yes, of course, it's not an altruistic cause or anything like that, these politicians getting involved in helping Mario Andretti realize his son and his own dream. No, it all comes down to cash for multiple operations and persons. Again, cash is king. But if F1 really wants to break into America, it can't keep doing this. Or them, Liberty Media, having to divulge itself of Formula One, having to sell it. It could lead to a messy breakup. Much like how the breakup of Ferrari and Carlos Sainz, I reckon, is mostly going on right now. Something I talk more about in this video here, which you can go and watch right now, and it's a slow burner and certainly not a smooth operation. Ooh.